Welcome to The Recurring Plot, presented by Curb and Turf. On this show, we interview agritourism farmers, authors, leaders, and influencers who share their insights on growing and monetizing your agritourism business. Here's your host, Dustin Reed.
Hi, this is Dustin from Curb and Turf. You're listening to The Recurring Plot, where we talk about all things RVs, how to make more recurring income. Today we're going to be talking about different types of RV camping with Scott Henscheid. He's going to give us an insider scoop on his own experiences with RV camping. So thanks for joining us, Scott.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Why don't you tell those that are listening or those that are watching a little bit more about you, where you come from, a little bit more about your family and your interests.
Sounds good, Dustin. Yeah, we both work for Curb and Turf, doing different aspects of the business as well. And, I've been in web design for many years now, and I came to Curb and Turf through a mutual friend of ours. And it's been a great experience so far. Been a lot of fun, kind of learning how Curb and Turf works and being able to create some great tools for our software and our service. As for me personally, I'm an Idaho boy. I grew up in Idaho forever and haven't ever actually lived anywhere else. That might be a goal of mine at some point in my life. Have a couple of siblings and, obviously some parents. Go figure. It's kind of how that works, I think. We used to do some RV camping as I was a kid. So I got into this job, of course, and decided to purchase my own RV myself here. So that kind of brings us to where we are today at the moment, and a little bit of why you're interviewing me, I guess, as well.
Yep. And we'll get to that because we'll talk about, obviously, your experiences and what kind of led to your decision about purchasing the RV that you did, kind of go over your experiences, obviously. For those that don't know, what do we do at Curb and Turf?
So at Curb and Turf, our system is designed to connect a landowner with a person that owns an RV. The landowner benefits by being able to generate some recurring passive income by hosting an RVer at their site, and the RV owner benefits by having a unique place to stay or a great experience that would otherwise be inaccessible to them as an RV owner.
Why is this platform important for RVers and for landowners?
So this definitely solves a need for both groups. A landowner, of course, gets the way to generate some more income from a piece of property that they already own and otherwise might not be as useful to them. Maybe it's a farm and they're building, making some money off of the farm, but they can generate a little more income by just having a person stay there and generate that nightly income by an RV that's getting hosted, as well as maybe even selling some of their farm produce. For example, if you had a strawberry field, you could host RVers and then offer, say, $5-10, give them a bucket, and go pick your own fresh strawberries. An RVer would love that. On the converse side, an RVer, of course, needs to find a place to park their RV. That's the number one concern, and that's definitely the thing that I've experienced as a new RV owner is, where am I going to go? Where am I going to park this thing that I got? And what am I going to do or what am I going to see when I get there? Curb and Turf solves these problems by giving you a lot more information than you would normally have on a lot of other sites. Rather than having to just go out in the boonies and hope that you find a place to stay, that nobody else has taken it, and who knows what you might find there. We provide a lot of information to an RVer where they can see pictures of the land that they're going to stay at, see some description of the services that might be available, whether that is a hookup, a plug, sewer connections, other a la carte things like firewood, or like my example before, a cool experience where you can pick your own fresh strawberries. All these are great experiences and great things that give an RVer like me more confidence when planning a trip. And I think that's great for everybody.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to jump on, to this opportunity, is because there is definitely need for both the landowner and for travelers, for RVers.
Absolutely.
Because that's something that's lacking. And then our platform is different than others. So how would you describe the difference between us and our competitors? Whether it's like a Harvest Host, that's the main one that probably comes to mind.
Right. Most people are familiar with that company as one of our primary competitors. One of the key differences for us, and it's really a benefit for the landowner a lot as well as the guests too, we provide a service where you basically pay per night. So the income is always guaranteed for the landowner. And the location is always guaranteed for the end user as well, too. So again, it goes back to that confidence of I know where I can go, I know where I'm going to be. And as opposed to something like Harvest Host, where they provide you a spot, but then you're highly encouraged to partake in whatever the landowner has to offer, since money has already been exchanged as as reimbursement for the land or the nightly stay. Then there's not the added pressure of, oh, do I have to do this, or do I have to tip, or do I have to whatever. You're paying for a service, and that transaction is complete. Anything else is gravy for everybody. It's a lot easier for the user to partake and really have a nice, relaxing time to do it.
Yeah, I agree. Because a lot of, like, for those that don't know, a Harvest Host, they have a subscription model, right? So basically, you have access to their list or their published sites that they have. A lot of them are businesses, but you're allowed to stay there for the night. But like you're saying, sometimes you kind of have to, buy certain items, or you're encouraged to buy those items, kind of thing. That's one of the reasons why I love Curb and Turf, just because it's basically like Airbnb for RVers, to put
Yeah.
it blunt.
It's the more pay per use model rather than the pay for subscription. Right now, we've got so many subscriptions for everything, it's hard to justify another one almost.
Right.
For anything.
Exactly. Yeah, this is really an awesome option for people that are looking to get out, having a different experience, where they're trying to really plan out a trip, especially during COVID, that C word we probably shouldn't mention, but during the pandemic, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but there's a huge spike in RV sales. That meant a lot of people were wanting to go outside. They wanted to have those experiences because we're being cooped up in our houses, our apartments, our homes, where we're missing out on experiences.
Yeah, and the
So
reason that I got an RV was for that exact reason. My wife came up to me one day and said, in this time of COVID, we're not sure whether we're going to be able to travel. If we get an RV, we know we can go somewhere. And so she actually proposed the idea to me, which was really great.
that's funny. You mentioned before, like, you have some experiences when you're younger with your family going RVing. What were some of those experiences? What are some early memories that you've had?
I'll tell you a little bit about my previous RV experience. So, when I was a kid, my dad had a little 22-foot RV, and we used to go camping mostly in kind of central Idaho, Sawtooth Mountain area. And that was a lot of fun for me as a kid. I'd go and I'd take my bike, I'd ride around the camp area, we'd go on hikes, we'd go dip in the river or dip in the lake or wherever we happened to be, and just get away from things. And so I have really good memories of that as a kid, going with my dad. Like I say, being in the back country, 3 miles away from civilization, running into a hornet's nest and going, oh, thank goodness that we're not allergic. So, because we all got stung. All kinds of good memories that you have as a kid. So I kind of knew I wanted to do that again as an adult too. So That's how I got into it.
That's cool. So how has that you into RV ownership?
That's a good question. So as a younger kid, of course, I didn't realize a lot of the things that went into it. However, I did have some idea. I was able to watch, what it took for my dad to hook up our truck to our trailer and see some of the issues that he had doing that. I knew that when we went to the campsite and got set up, we had to set up the little blocks under the trailer so that it wouldn't bounce around so much, because my mother would get motion sick. And so, little things like that were some kind of hints that I knew I was going to have to deal with, or that I knew that I wanted to look at going forward. So, for example, with the rising jacks, when I was looking for a camper myself, I found one where that system is built into the trailer rather than a separate piece that you have to set up differently, which is what I had as a kid. We had these little jacks that we'd have to put little boards down and then put the jacks up, make sure they were on the right frame, and crank them up one at a time. It was quite the process. And now I have an electric drill that just lowers them down, and I'm done. And it's great. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How long have you had your RV?
So I've had my RV for just over a year now. This is my second season with this RV so far, and it's been fun. Challenging, but fun.
Okay.
We'll get into that in
So
a minute, I think.
yeah. So what kind of RV do you have? What's like the make and model?
Yeah, so I have a Keystone Hideout. It's 174 RK is the specific model. It's about a 21 feet from the tip of the tongue to the back of the bumper on this trailer, about 17 feet inside. So it's a good little trailer for myself and my wife to go around and have some fun in. We can usually make it about 2 days off grid, which is great for, weekend trips. That's what we kind of wanted to do.
How frequently do you use your RV?
Not as
Like
frequently
how
as I
many?
want to.
Is there a specific reason why that like you're
Usually
I
life
mean
gets in the way, unfortunately. So it does require a little bit of planning to get the trailer out. If you're going to go somewhere, you need to know, okay, well, if I'm going off grid, I need to have my food. I need to get the trailer loaded up. I need to fill it up with water, make sure the tanks are empty. So there's a lot of prep to getting the trailer ready to go, especially off grid, even for just a weekend trip. So we end up going maybe once a month, usually in the summer weeks. Part of that is because we have other things we're doing too. We're not
right.
one trick ponies, I guess. So we do other things on the weekends as well.
Yeah, like
But we do enjoy.
you like to fly planes as well, right? I
True,
mean,
yes. So I do like to fly planes sometimes, and unfortunately, at the moment, my plane does not neither fit inside nor on top of my trailer. So
right. Maybe someday.
maybe someday, exactly.
For those that don't know, can you describe what exactly you do for Curb and Turf?
Yeah, so I got hired with Curb and Turf primarily as the app developer. So I developed the Curb and Turf app for both iPhone and Android. And when I joined, there was already a website that was really well built, actually. I basically had the job of translating that into an app for iPhone and Android. And so I've been doing that for now almost 2 years, and we've got a great offering, I think, on the App Store. I might be biased, but I think it's pretty good. Since then, I've of course expanded, and I assist now a lot with the website and other updates to our services and our platform. And so it's been great, and I've used a lot of that experience to go forward with my career as well as provide this really cool feature for Curb and Turf that makes everybody's life easier. I hope that uses the
It is.
platform.
You definitely made our lives easier just by being on the team.
Well,
I
thank
just
you.
want to, because we've seen the app grow like from nothing to, I think it was running within a couple months, to be honest.
I believe I had it done in 2 months. We had
Yeah,
a functional app that had most of the features of the website, which was pretty cool.
it's pretty awesome. And we continue on adding features and adding features. That's something that we always strive for. So if you guys haven't go to the app, it's available on Google Play Store and also the Apple Store, the App Store, and it's free to download, free to use. We just ask you to give us some feedback. That's what one of the reasons why we love doing what we're doing. We want to make sure we have something that's suitable for our users. It takes the guessing out of a lot of what you're doing as an RVer,
And
right?
I've
So
done
how
that.
does
Yeah.
yes.
You,
So
you
what
go out and you just take your car out and you just drive out into nowhere and look at stuff and say, oh yeah, maybe in a couple weeks I can try and get that site, or
right.
oh, that one looks okay, maybe I can try that one out next time.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah. So what are some things that you typically look for in a potential site?
There's a lot of things that you look for. Then the number one thing, whether it be a site that's out in the boonies or a site that might be on a service like Curb and Turf, the number one thing is going to be safety. I want to make sure that whoever I take with me and wherever I park it, everything's going to be safe, for me and anybody that comes with me. So that's my biggest thing, of course, is make sure that it's a site that I feel comfortable staying at and that I'm going to feel safe and actually, sleep overnight kind of thing. So sometimes that's, means that there are other people around if it's a little bit out in the boonies, which is kind of nice. So I like going out with friends as well. And so we'll basically share a campsite. So there's more than one of us there. And then other things that I look for, besides just making sure the site feels safe to me, I like to look for sites, and this could just be me, but I don't think it is. I like to look for sites that have good views, good environment, somewhere that seems like it would be fun to go. For example, like Yellowstone would be an example of somewhere fun to go. We have taken that trip in the RV. That was a lot of fun. And then we also look for what kind of services are either close to or at the site as well. So, am I going to have an electrical hookup? That changes how I'm going to pack my camper. Or am I going to have sewer and water hookups or anything like that? That's going to change how I'm going to pack my camper as well. Is there gas nearby? Is there a convenience store nearby where I can get any supplies that I might need? What else is there to do nearby? Is there a golf course nearby? I might throw my golf clubs in, for example. Is it out in the mountains where there are biking trails? I'll attach my bike to the back of the camper. So all these details about what is in the site and around the site are very important for me determining how to plan and pack for a trip. And so that's something that is, I think, really great about Curb and Turf, is that we can denote all those things that are either at or around the site within our site and our service.
So what are some features that are on the app or that are on the platform that have benefited you or can benefit other RVers?
Number one, pictures. The more pictures, the better. Especially like if you're familiar with recreation.gov, which has a lot of their campsites on there. If you're lucky, you'll get a picture of the site. If you're lucky. Most of the time you don't. So you have no idea what you're kind of walking into, which can be a little bit of an issue. And of course, I'm sitting in my RV in suburbia, and some guy with a weed whip decided it was time to do his lawn. He's literally right outside my door. So this is great.
Well, I think our viewers will understand.
Appreciate that.
They'll understand because
All
happens on a daily occurrence.
So if you don't know, RVs don't have as much insulation as a normal house, and you can hear more things.
That's true. That's one of the downsides for having an RV.
Yeah,
but you can also isolate yourself if you're in the middle of nowhere. So that's another feature.
Yeah, so it is kind of funny. That would be another thing that, hey, I can use this to our advantage. That's another thing that I would look for. I stayed at an RV park once a while back, and there was a railroad track not 300 or 400 feet from that. Well, that's not necessarily the end of the world. The problem was that the trains ran about 3 to 4 in the morning, and there was a crossing right next to the entrance of the RV park. So they just blare their horns right by the RV park, woke me up every night. So that can be an important thing to look for when you know where you're going and what you might have. In a house, you have a little more insulation, double-paned windows. You're not going to hear it as much. Right. But in an RV, that's pretty loud.
That's why it's important to know your location or know where you're going to be going. Another cool thing that we have on our platform is that we give you what's the environment like. Can you hear noises? Is your neighbor, how close is your neighbor, kind of thing. So we have a lot of those features already built into the platform and the app and the website and everything else.
We do. And some people that won't be a big deal. Some people it will. I'm a pretty light sleeper, so the noise is one thing that I love about our app, that we actually have that specified on whether it's going to be a quiet area or more of a suburban or even urban area where you're going to have more street noise and that kind of stuff too. So that's just going to fit the RVer with the land that's available as well, just even that much better, which is great.
I agree. You mentioned some of them, but what other kind of bad experiences have you had with RV parks? Obviously, you've had the run-in with the train, or not the run-in with the train,
right?
But you've obviously dealing with noise. Dealing with the noises with that train crossing. What other kind of bad experiences?
Let's see. Well, I'll go with interesting experiences. How about that? Okay. Not necessarily bad, because an RV trip is always an adventure. We'll put it that way.
Right.
The first time we took this RV out and we took it to an actual RV park, we plug in to all of our connections. We have our water, our power, our sewer. We get everything plugged in, and we're sitting down at our table thinking about dinner, and all of a sudden there's water streaming down one of the walls in the RV, and we're like, what is going on here? And apparently, whatever pressure was in the RV park had overpressurized the lines in our RV, and we were leaking water through our RV. So we ran out really quick, disconnected the water, and decided that we were just going to fill up our fresh tank from their water connection and then work off of that, which did work. Ironically, this was the same place that had the train. But anyway. And yet, I still would actually recommend this park because overall the experience wasn't that bad. But it did have a couple of caveats to it.
Right.
Let's see. I don't think my other interesting experiences really involve RV parks at this point, but I do have other ones too.
There's another side of RV parks too, because some of them have rules where if your recreational vehicle, your RV is over 10 years, they don't, some don't allow you in.
Some don't, yes.
Yes, but that's another nice thing about our platform is that, if there are restrictions, you'll know straight off. Usually we
Yes.
don't. I don't think there is any that I could think of on any of the sites that we've had.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's actually implemented the 10-year-old RV thing, but we have, thinking about this, we have implemented some features that would help protect a host from sort of a junker RV situation like you're talking about there, or potentially squat on your land as well too. Both things that we would not like to see happen to any of our hosts offering their land. So we offer things like the ability to see the RV, get a picture of the RV that's coming to your place before you actually accept the booking as well,
Yep.
which can help prevent those kind of situations, of course.
Yep.
Luckily, my RV is not 10 years old. It's fairly brand new. But my dad had an RV that I'm sure was probably over 10 years old, and it was fine. The only thing that didn't work on it was the furnace, but we had blankets, so we were okay.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just rough it, right?
Exactly. Sometimes you just rough it. We went camping a while back where we had a overnight that was below 30 degrees, and our furnace didn't work, we found, on our camper as well. So we had a pretty cold night that night. But luckily the next day, my buddy that we were camping with, which is why I like camping with a buddy, he had a generator, and we were able to plug into his generator, and we had a little space heater with us, and that kept us warm all night. So
Well, that's good.
sometimes when you're RVing, you just kind of roll with it and deal with the problems as they come. That's what you can do.
I think that's one of the things you have to do when you're RVing. You're just gonna have to. There's gonna be experiences you definitely don't plan for, and there's things that even with your own RV where, like maintenance. So what are things that you had to get service for your RV, or some things that you've encountered with your own RV that you weren't planning on?
Let's talk about that. So I've had some interesting things with an RV, and we talked earlier about COVID-19 and the proliferation of new RVs that have been sold. And so this might be a decent time to talk about expectations getting into RVs as well. I, as a kid, had really great experiences with my dad, who had his RV for many years, knew what to expect with it, knew what the problems were, and was capable of dealing with them, and kind of had all that experience behind his belt. Of course, I just bought mine recently, and I bought it brand new. So I didn't realize this when I bought it, but apparently there's a little bit of a stigma, I guess is the way to say it, that new RVs are built really quick, and they aren't necessarily built well sometimes. So luckily when we got our RV, we had a decent warranty. I think about the first 3 months we had our RV, it was pretty much in the shop the whole time, getting all the little things fixed. Most of them are pretty minor, but some of them were enough that you needed to, they weren't things that we could take it out with. The most major thing we had is that the frame that the trailer sits on, it's got some brakes on it, of course, since it's a little travel trailer. And when we first got the RV, we were driving it around, and we had one of the brakes seize up on us. It was continually pulling the RV brake. And so we go around a corner, and we just see smoke billowing from one of the wheel wells in the trailer. And I'm like, my wife's in the car with me. I'm like, we got to pull over. We got to see what is going on. We get out, and we just smell this burning metal on metal smell, and we're like, that can't be good. So we take it into the dealership. We luckily got it there before it burned itself up. And they had an an issue with they'd found an issue in the trailer frame with the braking system. So they replaced that for us. It didn't cost us anything. But that was probably the most major thing, because we could have had a lot of issues with that if we hadn't caught that before. So one of the things we did before we went out was we literally camped in our driveway and tested all the things out. Like, does the furnace work? Does the stove work? Can we make meals in it and whatnot too? But luckily we drove it around town a little bit and found this brake issue before that became a problem. Yeah, so there's all kinds of fun things when you get a new RV that you have to deal with.
Well, that's probably a good idea especially for new RV owners or people that are looking to purchase an RV where, just to test it out. Maybe some people don't have that luxury, or even if it's, if you have a friend that maybe would allow, you stayed on their property or whatever, and just to see what it's like, see if it's even for you, because it's a huge investment too.
It is. Absolutely. So it was a big time investment. That was the biggest thing, to kind of get everything ready and make sure we were ready for our first trip. Hopefully the guy mowing the lawn next to me isn't too loud. Literally, he's like right out there. Not even joking.
He's on at least he's on a riding lawnmower. He's probably going to be out there going.
Hopefully it won't take him too long.
If it were me, I'd go 2 rounds on the riding lawnmower.
I know, right?
That's how I am. I'm like, I'm just going to do it. Yeah, it looks a little uneven, and just go out again.
Exactly. Anyway, so, the joys of hanging out here. So we've had good experiences with our RV overall, but there were definitely a lot more glitches than we expected buying a brand new product. We thought, oh yeah, we bought this deal, we can go out next week. And luckily, our boss, granted, he said it jokingly, but he did give me a little bit of a heads up on that. So I was very happy about that. So I kind of pulled my expectations down to probably where they should have been. Now that everything is kind of worked out, we're getting a lot better at it and trying to figure out all these things, and it's a lot easier than it was before. Right. There's still some periodic maintenance.
You mentioned before, like, what kind of expectations did you have before purchasing your RV?
Oh, I figured it was going to be, I go down to the RV shop, they'll tell me what will actually fit in my truck, what I can actually pull with it, and they'll hook me up and I'll be able to take it out next weekend. That was what I thought would happen. It ended up taking me 2 or 3 months to get everything worked out before I was able to actually go somewhere with it. So that was probably my biggest unexpected thing, was the amount of prep after getting a new RV. So this is why some people I've found out suggest that you buy a used RV, because these issues have been worked out already. So, but like I said, we initially had this axle issue with our braking system. And that's something we don't want to go into the mountains without.
Right, for sure.
So, yeah.
So what advice do you have for someone that's new to like the RV life or looking to get an RV?
Oh, what advice do I have? Do a lot of research in advance, of course. And biggest thing, I think, is probably make yourself a list of what you want to get out of an RV experience, so that when you go and look for an RV, you can find something that meets your needs. I think my wife and I did a pretty good job of this ourselves. We had a couple of things that we knew we needed. We knew we wanted an RV that had a good-sized refrigerator. So in our little 17-foot RV, we have a 6 cubic foot refrigerator, which is a little bit bigger than most RVs of this size. We also have a separate, I think it's like 3 cubic foot freezer, which is also good. The only thing that we weren't able to get in this size or in our price range was a built-in oven. We do have a couple burners, but in lieu of an oven, we were able to get kind of a portable grill, and we can do most of our food prep on this portable grill instead. So we were able to kind of solve those needs, separately.
A lot of it has to do with the layout, right? Just because they have, and how it's laid out. So that's probably, where you probably spend a lot of your research, is how you want what kind of function do you want within your RV and what's important to you. So that's
Yep,
good that it sounds like
exactly.
you and your wife did quite a bit of
That's what we did. And we did a lot of thinking about how we'd want to use it in transit. For example, this one does have a slide, which adds a lot more space inside the RV. But the other nice thing about it is that when the slide is in, we can still get to the refrigerator. We can still get to the bathroom. So if we're traveling, we don't have to pull the slide out to do something, to get to the fridge or to make a quick lunch or something like that, which is also great. So things like that you don't think about until you kind of do it. So again, just research
right.
on what you can do.
Yep. So what are some your favorite experiences as far as camping and RVing?
Sounds great. Yeah, let's talk about some of those. I've had a lot of good times camping and RVing. With my dad when I was younger, we used to do Redfish Lake, like I said, every year. I have a lot of good memories of doing that. We took a hike when I was a kid with my brother and my dad and my brother's wife at the time. And we were 2 miles in the backcountry, and we hit this crazy thunderstorm all of a sudden rolls in. And I don't remember if we had jackets or what we had with us, but we're like hiding under these trees and the thunder's cracking right above us. It's like flash, crack. I mean, it is right above us. So that was exciting. We got a little bit wet on the start of that one. And then we keep going after the thunderstorm moves on. We go about 2 or 3 more miles in the backcountry and we ran into this wasp nest. My dad got stung right between the eyes, and I got stung right on my forearm, which wasn't nearly as bad as his. But his eyes started kind of swelling up a little bit because these were nasty backwoods wasps of some kind. They weren't just honeybees. So again, we were really glad that we weren't allergic or anything like that, but it definitely made for a more exciting adventure. We did make it the full 6 miles into the backcountry and found this glacial lake. And I mean glacial. There was snow. This is the middle of July, and there's snow running right down into this lake. It was pretty cool. So fun little hikes like that. Since I've gotten my RV, had a lot of fun. The first time we took the camper out, it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. We're in the middle of nowhere where we don't even have cell phone service. And I was asleep at the time, I think. And my wife grabs my arm and she wakes me up and she's like, "Is that somebody screaming?" And I'm like, I listen for a second. And I'm like, no, I think that's the whistle pigs that are outside. They're little rodents and whatnot. And they make this high-pitched squeak really quick if you're not familiar with them and whatnot. And so she's like, "Oh, okay." And she goes back to sleep. And of course, I'm like, wide-eyed, like, was that somebody screaming? Was I just making stuff up? So I didn't sleep as well after that. But anyway, she went right back to sleep. And I was like, man. But anyway, so we've had some good experiences that way. And it's always an adventure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love about the outdoors, because I'm not an RVer. I mean, I obviously deal with the job that I have. I deal with RVers every day, so I know kind of those experiences. I've been RVing myself. I mean, I've taken the boss, the owner of Curb and Turf. I've taken his RV out before, and I love it. Like,
Yeah.
when it's not your own RV, it's a little easier. It's a little more stressful too, just because it's the boss's RV,
True.
and you're like, okay, well.
And he's got a nice little setup too. His is all contained and small and easy to drive. My vehicle, when I drive it, is about 41 feet long, so it's a bit of a more of a vehicle to navigate, which is also another learning experience, is how to drive with this big weight on your back too.
I wasn't used to that initially either, because I was like, okay, well, it's just, you have to, once you get in that mindset, I guess. I'm not, or, just what am I trying to say?
I think mindset's a good way to say it. You have to get wrap your head around the fact that you've got this longer vehicle.
Yes.
You need to take your turns wider. You need to plan ahead for stopping, for a stop sign, for example. Yes. If somebody cuts you off, after you stop cursing, then, you think about what you need to do.
It's different. You handle that different.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yep. Like, cause I remember when I just driving an RV, like where I'd have to plan what gas stations I was going to, just because I
Yes.
was just worried about, okay, well, I don't want to, like, I want the most space possible kind of thing. So I was just like, I'm gonna go for the less crowded. It wasn't even like I wasn't even looking for the cheapest gas. I was looking for
Oh yeah.
like the less crowded
When you're
and
driving an RV, you're like, I just want gas. I'm not even worried about how much it costs.
because
And
your gas mileage goes out the window anyways when
it
you're
does.
hauling something with a truck or even if you
Yep.
have an RV, you know.
Yeah, depending on your truck, I hear the diesels do a lot better, but my
Yeah.
truck is not a diesel. So my gas mileage drops to about a third of what it is normally. And I've had a couple of times where I'm like, I got a quarter of a tank left. I think I can make 20 miles on that, which
Yeah.
is really crazy to say that. But
It's
where you're like, I think I'm going to make that next stop, but I'm not sure.
yeah. You're always like, okay, white knuckling. You're like, okay, here I go. So, yeah.
And then you get better at it as you go. You find out how much you can do, whether you're going to be in hill terrain or more flat plain terrain. You're going to get different gas mileage on those different areas. So that's another thing to take into
Yeah.
consideration. So it's pretty wild.
Another question I had, what are some places you'd like to visit in the future with your RV?
Well, my end goal, I should say the bucket list goal, is to take a cross country RV trip, which I think would be excellent. My brother lives in Georgia, and I'd love to take the RV all the way over there. He has an RV as well, and that would be pretty cross country for us here in Idaho. But that'd be a lot of fun. My wife wants to go to Glacier National Park. I also do too. I guess I shouldn't say just my wife. We both want to go to Glacier. That'd be a lot of fun. There's so many places, and it opens up a lot of unique places you can go that you don't normally see, which is really fun.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people there where they want to, they don't want to confine themselves to a specific area. That's the whole point of having an RV. You want to go
Exactly.
where you want, right? And you don't want to be restricted on where you could stay at. So again, like another reason why curb and turf, why we're important in this marketplace and what we're
Absolutely.
trying to do. Yeah.
And things like that, when you're looking at sites, for example, and you go to recreation.gov and you look at all the government sites, and they've got tons of them. They are all over the place, and most of them have that little FF symbol, which means first come, first serve.
Yeah.
That means if you get there, there might be a spot, but you have no guarantee, which makes it really hard to plan a longer trip like that, because you're like, okay, if I can't find a spot, am I parking in Walmart parking lot, for example, which might be interesting, or where might you park it? And a system like Curb and Turf or anything like that, would give you that ability to say, yep, here on this date, I've got a site reserved. I know where I'm going to be. I know I can make it there. It just gives you that extra ability and confidence. And, we have a trip planner built into our system where you can
Mm.
plan a multi-stop trip like that and, plan your cross country, for example. So all kinds of great things.
Yeah, that's one of the great things I love about the app is that we have rest stops, we have places where you can look for dump sites, but not only that, we have locations for boondocking. And those that are listening, can you describe what that is exactly?
Absolutely. So boondocking is a term which you can also refer to it as dry camping. It basically means off grid, somewhere where you have no hookups, and a lot of times that's somewhere that's also free camping. There's a lot of these sites around the country, and we have a lot of them loaded into our system and our app, where you can find a location that is usually off the beaten path. The great thing about these kind of boondocking sites is you could be at a host site getting all your services, getting hookups, fill ups, dumps, electricity, and then the next day you could go to a complete off grid site, somewhere maybe that you really wanted to go to as well, and just camp for free. And that's a service that our app provides as well. And it's one of the things that I really enjoy about RVing and camping is the boondocking or the dry camping. Just being off grid, being disconnected. One of the other things that I love doing while boondocking is I'm kind of into astronomy as well. So I will take a telescope and set that up. And if you're in the back country where there's no lights, you can see a lot of things that you normally do not see when you're in the normal city lights. And so it's a really fun experience. So got a campfire going in one corner and a telescope going in the other, and and I'm a pretty happy guy. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's cool. That's awesome. So, what's been your experience with boondocking?
so I did a lot of boondocking, almost exclusively boondocking, in fact, with my dad when I was younger, mostly in the Sawtooth Mountain area. So up near Sun Valley, Idaho, Stanley, Idaho, those kind of areas. And we have another friend that has another RV, and we'll go up and we'll do boondocking completely off grid, free site, no cost except for whatever it takes to get our RV there. And we'll just meet him at a campsite there, and have it in the mountains, and gotten some pretty cool photos that I've taken of these sites, and I've posted some of these sites as boondocking sites on Curb and Turf as well, so that anybody else can experience those. But don't take all my sites. I want to be able to go there when I want to. So, I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. And that's the whole point of it. That's one of the reasons why we're wanting to have this service, or this platform,
Absolutely.
is so people could go out, experience things, they could disconnect, they could enjoy, time in nature. What used to be where you try to keep things a secret, where it's just like, okay, I have my secret place where I'm gonna, and we want to share that
Yeah.
to people.
Yeah, it is the information age for sure. That's why we need more hosts and more people to share their land. There's a lot of RVers out there, a lot of people that bought their RVs during the COVID pandemic that need a place to park it now. They're finding that, especially weekends, really hard to find a boondocking site unless you've gone up a day or two early or gone up on Sunday and plan to boondock throughout the week. It can be quite challenging. So very big opportunity for anybody that has land and wants to be able to share that with RVers. And we've talked to various hosts, and some of them do it because they want the money. Some of them do it because they like meeting the people that come to their area, which is also another reason that people enjoy it. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
okay,
So we have. I just love interacting with the hosts as well, just because a lot of people don't realize that a lot of these people are own agri-tours, like tourist business. They're using this as a supplementary income, where they're trying to, sometimes, especially now, where farmers are having a hard time keeping crops with the way inflation is, prices are. Some are selling off their cattle, so
yep.
there needs to be ways where they could actually supplement their income, have that passive way of making money.
Yeah. And it's a different paradigm shift for a farmer to go from just straight farming to creating kind of an experience for people that would come there. We know of vineyards here locally that will allow you to camp. You can do weddings on the vineyard grounds. You can do wine tastings on the vineyard grounds. There's a couple places around here where they have flower farms. You can just go and get a bucket and pick your own fresh flowers out of the flower farm, which is also really fun.
Yeah.
So really cool experiences like that I think a lot of people would enjoy, RVers and really anybody, as well as, like you said, providing supplementary income to anybody who's a farmer or has the land to be able to host, which is great.
Yep. It's just a really cool, like a symbiotic, like, relationship, if you
It
think
is.
about it, just because you have these RVers that really want to have these experiences, and there's probably these farmers that may have not even thought about this before. We're just like, wow, there's because there's tons of people, there's millions, literally millions of people that are looking for places, looking for ways to get out. And that's one of
Yep.
the reasons why, you know, we are looking for hosts, and we want more options for those RVers. It's super
Absolutely.
important.
And I can say that I've definitely wanted to go out and have been like, I don't want to try and find a site. I don't want to have to deal with that worry. It's not worth the prep to go and then have to come back. So I've definitely had that experience of, I don't know if there's a place to go this weekend. As much fun as it would be. So yeah.
Right. I agree. Well, so is there anything else that we missed, or that you'd like to discuss, Scott? I think we've kind of.
Yeah, I think we did a pretty good job of covering that. So yeah, it's been great. I have been enjoying my RV. Look forward to more trips in it, as well as more fun experiences in that regard too. So
Yeah.
Cool deal.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of this episode. Again, I'd like to thank you, Scott, for giving your experiences and your stories about RVing, just because I think it's important for other people to kind of gain insight from your point of view as well. Our goal is to help farmers, vineyard owners, any agritourism business where we want to help, and we feel like we could add a huge benefit to your business. So if you do have a land that you're willing to have RVers stay on, please go to our website, and then that way we could actually help you gain more income. So as always, thanks for listening to the Recurring Plot, and we look forward to talking to you next time.
Thanks for listening to The Recurring Plot, presented by Curb and Turf. Curb and Turf works like Airbnb, but we help RVers to find land where they can park when they're traveling. Make more money from your land. Please visit curbandturf.com to list your property.